Welcome to this week's Crafting with Roswell. We are making a give thanks sign. In your kit, you will receive one wood hexagon shaped sign. Twine hanger and sawtooth hanger were pre-installed. A paintbrush, a vinyl design saying give thanks with leaves, contact paper for transferring the vinyl design, and white chalk paint. Recommend having an acrylic paint color, paper towels, and rinse water for your brush nearby. And in case you'd like to speed up your drying time, a hair dryer would be helpful. To get started, just feel around the inside of your shadow box. Make sure there's no dust or any kind of loose pieces of wood sticking up that your paint would grab onto. And now we're going to coat the inside with our white paint. Just gently work along the edges of the frame. I like to put my paint down and then push in closer to the edge. And you may decide that you want to even paint the sides of your shadow box. That's completely up to you. There is enough paint, hopefully, in your kit to at least do the background section, if not the inner sides of your shadow box frame. Once you have the inside painted, it's time for my favorite activity, which is called watching paint dry. But I also recommend really concentrating on the middle section or wherever you think you would like your Give Thanks design to be, and making sure that that area is a nice solid white on your sign. And for those of you looking for a shortcut method, while I am using the paint, vinyl, paint again, peel the vinyl away method, you could always paint the inner area of your shadow box sign the color you would like your background to be, and simply apply your vinyl stencil on top and call it a day for your project. I prefer the cleaner look of having a painted stencil. Therefore, we are going through these extra steps, but you could do the down and simple way of just painting that background, applying your vinyl, and hanging your decor on your wall. Now that my inner paint is dry, we can go to the steps of prepping the vinyl to apply to the inside of the shadow box. So I just place the vinyl in front of me with the design face up, and I like to bend the corner of my contact paper and then just kind of peel at it with my finger to separate the actual contact paper from its backing. It's the simplest way I found to remove it. So I'm just going to start on one side of my design, lay it down gently, smooth it across, and then press down using my fingers in order to make sure that my vinyl adheres to the contact paper to be able to transfer the design in one big piece onto my shadow box. When you have it all pressed down, you'll see kind of a halo effect around the actual vinyl lettering, helping you know that you've adhered it. So to peel, I find the starting edge of my contact paper and kind of separate that from my backing. And then I like to peel down the backing with the contact paper down low, peeling the paper backing off towards me. So I'm just gently rolling that paper backing down, which pushes all of my vinyl lettering and design onto the contact paper, leaving nothing on that sticker backing. And in order to align my design with my shadow box, I am kind of focusing on the middle section of my T and the end of the loop of my S to help me position it within my shadow box frame. So having those near the corner sections of my hexagon, across the middle, and then kind of eyeing along the bottom of the frame how things line up for spacing. Placing my design. And then once I am happy with the location, start firmly pressing down on your letters and your leaves. I know it can be tricky to see with the white background and the white vinyl. If you have a nice bright light nearby, that will help you make the differentiations. And now I'm just going to gently rub over that with my finger so that way the vinyl design adheres to our shadow box. And the next step will be to gently peel away the contact paper. To peel that contact paper away, I just try to find a corner or an edge to start slowly rolling that back, making sure that my vinyl design stays down on the shadow box and doesn't pull back up. And I just keep gently pulling that away, moving it back and forth if any vinyl pieces start to come back up, and keep gently pulling it out of the way. So then we just have the design on the inside. I'm going to be using my piece of contact paper to help mix my paint, so I'm setting that aside. And there you can see slight differences in color to see where my design lays. I'm gently pressing down on the vinyl to make sure there are no bubbles in any of the letters or around any of the edges before I start the next step. Because wood is a porous surface, what we're going to do is once again use our paintbrush and a little bit of white paint and gently go over our vinyl design. By painting around our vinyl design with the white paint, once again, we are kind of sealing the edges of our design. That way, if any colors do want to bleed in this project, it's going to be bleeding through the white paint of our letter color and not the darker or deeper colors that might be going on top for your finished sign. So this white is going to be the color that pulls through if anything wants to bleed through the different grains of the wood. And so I'm just going to quickly, in double speed, have you watch me cover over all of the vinyl stencil with a light coat of the white paint. Now that all of my letters are covered, I'm going to rinse my brush and give it a quick dry on the paper towel, and then begin mixing the colors I would like to use to become the background color around the vinyl design. So I'm going to be using a little bit of yellow and some red in order to create a coral color similar to the picture shown when we advertise this project. I'm going to use my paintbrush to mix these two colors together. And to make it a little lighter, I'm going to add in some white paint. And I'm just going to use the handle of my paintbrush to dip into the container, pull out some white paint that I can then incorporate. And by adding in a little bit of white, you'll see that my color will start to lighten and become more of a coral versus a burnt orange red. Whatever color you decide is completely up to you. Just choose a color that makes you happy. Making sure that the white over my stencil is completely dry, I am now ready to start painting the inside of my frame with the color I just mixed. When painting over your vinyl, I recommend doing the light coats as usual. You don't have to cover the stencil with a lot of paint. The lighter the coat you can do with the best coverage in the wood areas around the vinyl will help expose the vinyl, making it easier to remove for that final step of the project. So once again, a nice thin coat of whatever color you're applying on top, working it in and around the vinyl pieces gently to create the best finish for your project. With the inside covered, now is your chance to kind of go back through and add a little more paint to any areas that you feel are thin and that too much of the white background might be showing through. I notice a little white along my edges, so I'm just adding a little bit more paint to those areas, covering what caught my eye. And by working on these outer edges, I'm giving the inside section a chance to dry. So once I finish touching it up, I'm likely ready to start peeling the vinyl away. Since that paint is completely dry, I'm going to grab my tools. So to remove the vinyl, I recommend using either like surgical tweezers with a very fine point. If you happen to have vinyl tools hanging around, they look a lot like what you would see in a dentist office. But these extra sharp picks are great at just lifting the edges of the vinyl pieces, enough for you to then be able to pull them away. So now I'm just going to go through and remove all of those white vinyl pieces. And since I did a light coat of paint over them, they're pretty obvious in terms of where to start pulling at edges. Just a few more letters to go. The V is being a little tricky. Just moving around a few flakes of paint. They tend to come free when you're peeling up the vinyl. Giving my project a tap to empty those out. And there you have it. Join me next week as we start our paper folding project.